Haya was about to be proven wrong. As soon as she entered the house, she noticed Suleiman Sahib sitting in the lounge. His face was blank, a strange shadow cast across it. There was a fear in the air. Then the phone rang. "This video is yours," came the voice. Ruhail, who had been sitting in the couch, suddenly stood up. A bunch of CDs had been thrown at him. Tayafur Khan, Davarbai, and Ruhail were all present. Iram was crying on the floor in a corner. Somewhere the phone kept ringing. Haya wanted to speak to tell them something. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. They all seemed bent on taking her life. Suleiman Sahib stepped forward and slapped her across the face. "Shameless! Shameless!" he shouted. Her lips trembled, but the voice didn't come from her. It came from a dolly. "Dolly? Dolly? Pinky? Shameless Pinky," echoed the voice. The phone rang again, followed by a jolt. He found himself sitting upright in his room. The table lamp was on now, casting light across the room. He touched his face with both hands. Nothing had happened. It was all a dream. His breathing was heavy, his heart racing. His body was drenched in a sweat. But the phone ringing. That part wasn't a dream. He picked up the mobile from the side table and looked at the glowing screen. A private number was calling. He brought the phone to his ear. "Major Ahmed, I am ready. I'll come to your office and file the report tomorrow at 9 a.m. Let me know if you had like this written in a specific tone, like dramatic, poetic, or formal, or it's part of a larger story you are working on. Send a car to the entrance of the ground at the back side of my house." "Okay," Fatha replied, having heard the serious tone in his voice. She slowly entered the call. It wasn't just about being alone with a boy. The real fear was that if the meeting didn't happen, that video might be leaked again, and then came that dreadful dream. She felt forced into all of this. It seemed like she had no other chance. Major Ahmed would be waiting. She had to meet him at the playground gate, tense and anxious. The stood dressed in a loose lined shirt and pajamas pant. A stylish ruddy sweater covered her arms, its long sleeves reaching down to her fingers. A brown short shawl like stole rested across her shoulders, falling over her back. She stood silently in the cold wind. Ramaya Zara, she hadn't told anyone. She chose to face this danger alone. Restlessly, she glanced at the clock. Just then, a car approached and stopped in the front of her. It was an old Mercedes, looking somewhat worn but reliable. The driver nodded silently, opened the door, and she sat up inside. As soon as the door closed, the driver pulled away. As an hour later, they arrived at a safe house. Inside the room was bare white walls surrounded them on three sides. A wooden table and a chair sat in the center. A file lay neatly on the table. Everything else in the room was empty and silent. She turned slowly, looking around, her eyes scanning the quiet space. She had entered through a door, but the fourth wall wasn't solid. It was made entirely of glass. It was full length glass screen stretching from the floor all the way to the ceiling. The glass was frosted blurry like something from a high security lab. It was hard to see clearly through it, but enough to sense movement and outlines. It felt as if she was inside a blueprint, everything calculated, deliberate. She realized then that this was a blueprint, she was a part of it. The glass partition divided the room into two sections. One of the other side, it looked like an office. A large painting hung on the wall and behind a desk. Someone sat in the revolving chair. His face wasn't visible. He wore a khaki uniform and cap placed neatly on the table. Maybe he had been examining his finger, but his eyes were hidden from view. One thing stood out on the right side. of his face. The skin was scorched and discolored as if it had been burned. The man leaned forward and picked something up from the table. A landline phone receiver. Just then, the phone in her room started ringing. The shrill sound echoed. Was this man calling her? She hesitantly picked up the receiver, her hands trembling slightly. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, came the voice. Suleiman, this is Najir Ahmed, he said. His tone was calm, almost too calm, soft, but with a sharp undertone. She held the phone close to her ear, eyes locked on the frosted glass screen. Through it, she could barely make out the shape of the officer with the half-scratched face. Was he Major Ahmed? I hope we didn't hurt you too much, the voice said. So it was Major Ahmed, but then why hadn't he come forward? Why was he still hiding behind the frosted screen? I have already wiped the video from every server in the city, he said flatly. Say the word, I'll click and consider the report filed. She should have felt relief, but instead she felt uneasy. A strange smile played at her lips, but her heart was unsettled. You said I had to file a report, she reminded him softly. That was just bait, he replied. You had to come on your own. Excuse don't work when truth can't be explained. His words were softened in the something deeper, mockery, piety, or something more dangerous. Why was he talking in red light? He moved his hand slowly to the trackpad. Click, he said quietly, and then without warning, he pressed the button. The screen flashed once and went black. He leaned back in his chair, silent again, watching. She sat down slowly. Oh, thank you, she whispered. Major Ahmed had started to speak, but then his word turned sharp, tightening around her like a noose. I should ask you something, he said. If that video wasn't fake, then why are you so afraid? He leaned forward slightly. It was a family video. Don't we all record dance videos at weddings? His words struck her like cold water. Her feet shifted uncomfortably beneath her. What do you mean by just weddings? He continued. Videos get shared, people watch, some like them, some don't, but no one watches them live, do they? He paused, then added, in this video, the cameraman and the DJ were both visible, and that DJ, he is strange man. I couldn't understand it. If you thought it was perfectly fine, then why are you so worried about it leaking? She had no answer. You can't even justify it to yourself, he said, his voice sharp, and you are trying to explain it to me. I should ask one more thing, she said softly, hesitantly. Go ahead, he replied, but his voice had changed. There was a strange edge to it now, almost brittle. Has anyone ever broken a piece of heaven and handed it to you? She asked, her to tone tender, distant. Major Ahmed looked at her, his face unreadable. Something flickered across it. We brought the whole world for you, she added quietly. Major Ahmed's expressions didn't change, but for a brief moment a shadow of something crossed his face. Was it regret? Was it pain? Or had it always been a mask? It's only when we lose everything, she said softly, that we realize how little we ever knew about the world. How could something so broken ever look like paradise? If something brings you paradise, he replied coldly, hold on to them, because if you lose it, no one will help you rise again. There was a silence, a tension. Who was struggling? Who was listening? I should go, she murmured, beginning to pull the receiver away from her ear. Wait, his voice stopped her. Just one more thing. She paused. Will you marry me? The word hit her like a blow. The dazzle of the walls, frosted glass, shimmered in her tear filled eyes. Her heart skipped. Her thoughts trembled. Shock, anger, a wave of confused motion. Miss Haya, Miss Haya. His voice was suddenly tender, pleading. He was chewing every word, letting each one settle in the silence between them. She clutched her purse tightly. The phone receiver was still in her hand, but her grip had gone rigid. What did he mean by asking this? How could he speak of love after everything? You know everything about me, she said, voice trembling, and yet you act like you are unaware of my childhood marriage. I was married, she continued, to Jahan Sikandar when I was a child, my husband. Oh, yes, he interrupted bitterly. Your relative's family, the one from Turkey, the one who's never even set foot in Pakistan, my Pufo's family, she snapped, who probably doesn't even acknowledge it now because of shame or embarrassment. She paused, trying to hold her composure. Even that act, she added, voice breaking, was surrounded by guilt and regret. And how you are here, pretending to care. A childhood marriage, he scoffed, that and in court, appearances and sealed papers. That's not marriage, that's a paperwork. Just shut up, Major Ahmed, she shouted, standing up. Her voice echoed through the classroom. How dare you talk to me like this? Go show your family truth. Your videos, broadcast them on national TV if you want, she said, fury rising in her voice. I don't care anymore. I want to recover the full price for what I have lost, she said, her voice low but firm. For just one mistake, I paid too much. Jahan Sikandar is my husband, she continued, eyes steady, and I love him deeply. There is no one in my life except him. No one else ever has been, and no one else ever will be. With those words, she slammed the receiver down, her sorrow bursting like a wave. Her feet moved instinctively, carrying the weight of that movement. Just then the door creaks open. A soldier stepped inside and gave a sharp silent nod, signaling that the meeting was over. For Haya, the entire experience had been a bitter, twisted game. The car is waiting for you, ma'am, the soldier said gently. This way, please. As she turned to leave, something made her glance back over her shoulder. Through the frosted glass, she could barely see the outline of Major Ahmed. He was still sitting at the table, scribbling something on the notepad. And then she noticed something, something ready on the table, a bouquet, perhaps of red roses, or maybe just a trick of the eye, a phantom of beauty in a place so sterile. She stepped into the old car and sank into the back seat. Just as the door was about to close, the soldier handed her the bouquet. There was no letter with it, just white flowers, delicate, pure. She stared at them. They were her favorite, and despite everything, she knew it was him, Major Ahmed, the same one who had sent her that anonymous letter so long ago. She shoved the bouquet into the soldier's arms. Give his bags to your Major Ahmed, she said coldly, and slammed the car door shut. Haya, Haya, Haya. Later that evening, Kushi came running into the courtyard, breathless, her eyes bright. The video, she cried. The video is gone. It's been removed from the website. Haya sat silently, her expression unreadable. She had been joining in the cause only hour earlier. Now the storm had passed, but a single question still lingered in her heart. How did it happen? Who had the power and the will to make it all disappear? Maybe God intervened, she thought, or maybe it was just luck, or maybe she simply stopped caring out of exhaustion. Whatever the reason, it was over. Maybe that was good enough. Iram moved quickly around the house, preparing things. When is his, when is your flight to Turkey? She asked. Haya just shrugged. Who knows? First the passport, then the visa, if it comes at all. But something inside her had already started to dissolve, like fog clearing after a long, sleepless night. She stood absent-mindedly, pacing, still thinking of Major Ahmed, of his scratched face behind that blurred glass, of his voice emerging from behind the curtain like a shadow from another world. The smuggled word about paradise, about eagles flying into heaven, the strange metaphors. And then the proposal, what kind of man was he? And more haunting than his proposal was the quiet sting of something else he had said. The embarrassment of your Pupu's families, the act that caused it all. Why did he say that? What act, what shame could still be tied to them after all these years? If her Pupu's families never returned to his country, maybe it wasn't just shame, maybe it wasn't just judgment, maybe they had secrets too. Secrets that even she knew. Something major, something unspeakable. Was it her Bhuppo, her husband, or a Jihan Sikandar? She couldn't place it. Major Ahmed couldn't answer it either. He only asked more questions, lit more fires inside her minds. Then the phone rang again. The number was blocked. Of course, it was him. He was always tapping her calls, always watching. Zara had told her his once, and now she believed it. Surely he was parked somewhere near her house even now, watching the lights in the windows. She walked to the kitchen window and opened it silently. A soft window below in, and on the sill, as if left by fate, was a single white flower. Just one. No note, no name. But she knew exactly who had placed it there. If the flower had been left on the table, could he enter her house too? Was he watching from that close, even stepping into her room? The thought sent a cold shiver through her, but a laugh escaped her lips. Half amused, half shaken, she stood up to close the door, but just then Fatima Begum stepped in. "Your father is calling you," she said softly. "Okay." Haya nodded, picking up her scarf and looping it around her neck. She slipped on her slippers and headed out, her fingers tightening nervously. She knocked lightly at the door. Inside, Suleiman Sahib sat deep in thought. Fatima Begum was there too, sitting on the couch beside him, her eyes anxious and searching. Her posture was posed, graceful, carrying the quiet dignity of a woman who had weathered storms. She called,